baby. I'm on the grind, baby.
Imagine telling a parent today that you're sending your 7-year-old out the door after breakfast and don't expect to see them until the street lights come on. They'd call it a scandal or even report you. In the 70s, our moms just called it Saturday. There was a unique kind of freedom in that era, a trust in the neighborhood, and a specific type of invisible parenting that made us who we are today. Tonight, we're revisiting the things moms did in the 50s and 60s and 70s that nobody does anymore. And by number 1, you'll know exactly what I mean.
10. She had a smell that belonged only to her. This one is hard to put into words, but you know exactly what we mean. It wasn't one thing. It was everything together. Her perfume, whatever she wore in those years, maybe something from a small bottle she kept on the dresser, her hand cream, the smell of the kitchen on her clothes, powder, maybe, if that was her way, the particular warmth of her when you were small enough to be held close. You didn't notice it when you were a child. Why would you? It was just her. It was just the smell of being near her. It was background, like air. And then, one day, years later, decades later, you walked past someone on the street, or opened an old drawer, or found a cardigan in the back of a wardrobe, and it hit you. The exact smell. And for 3 full seconds, she was right there. That's the one nobody warns you about. The way a smell can bring someone back so completely that the distance between then and now disappears entirely. And for one quiet moment, you're not missing her anymore. You're just with her.
9. Leftovers became a new meal the next day. Sunday, it was a roast. The whole bird in the oven with whatever was in the garden or in the pantry. That was the main meal. That was the event. Monday, the leftover meat came off the bone and went into something else. A pie, a stew, sandwiches that somehow tasted better than they had any right to. Tuesday, the carcass, the bones, the scraps, the bits that looked like nothing, went into a pot with water and vegetables and herbs, and by evening, it had become a soup that was better than anything that ever came from a tin. 1 chicken, 3 days, nothing wasted. She understood something about economy and patience and making the most of what you had that is almost impossible to teach now.
She kept a tin that looked like cookies, but was actually sewing supplies. You already know this one. You felt it the moment it came up. You were a child. You were hoping. You had seen the tin on the shelf, and something in you thought, maybe this time it's actually biscuits. You opened it. Thread, a needle in a small paper sleeve, safety pins, buttons of various sizes and origins, none of which matched each other. A thimble, a small pair of scissors with curved handles, a piece of elastic waiting to be useful. The disappointment was immediate. And then it passed, the way all childhood disappointments passed, and the tin went back on the shelf, and it stayed there for the next 20 years. If you could go back and see that tin right now, really see it, hold it in your hands, lift the lid and smell what was inside, you would not be disappointed this time. Not even a little.
7. She knew every neighbor's name, their kids, their business. It wasn't gossip. Not really. It was knowledge. The kind of knowledge that comes from paying attention over years and decades, from being part of something, from caring enough about the people around you to remember what mattered to them. She knew when the family down the road was struggling and quietly left something on their doorstep. She knew when the elderly man on the corner hadn't been seen in 2 days and went to check. She knew which children were safe to play with yours and which households had something difficult going on inside them. She was the neighborhood's memory, its conscience, its connective tissue. Nobody appointed her. Nobody paid her. She just did it because that's what being a neighbor meant. And she had been taught that being a neighbor meant something.
6. She made you get dressed before the day could start. Pajamas were for sleeping. That was the rule. You came downstairs on a Saturday morning, and before the television went on, before breakfast, before anything,
You went upstairs and you got dressed. Properly dressed. Not in yesterday's clothes. Clean ones. Pressed ones. Ones that said you were a person who was present and ready for the day. Even if the day's only agenda was nothing. It seems like such a small thing. And maybe it was. But there was a message in it that stuck. That how you presented yourself to the day mattered. That the day deserved something from you. That you didn't just drift through life in the clothes you slept in. A generation raised on that principle turned out a certain way. Capable, upright, ready. Not accidentally. 5. She put sugar on a cut. Before antiseptic wipes came in individual foil packets, before every bathroom cabinet had a full first aid kit, before you could order anything you needed by tomorrow morning, there was sugar. And there was her. You came in from outside with a scraped knee or a cut finger, and she'd clean it off and pat it dry, and sometimes, depending on the house, depending on the grandmother who had taught her, she'd put a pinch of sugar on it. Or honey, if that was what she had. Old remedies from before the age of clinical solutions. Things her mother had told her. Things her mother's mother had told her before that. It probably didn't do much medically, but she did it with such calm certainty that you immediately felt better. Because the real medicine was never the sugar. It was her hands, her voice, her complete and total confidence that this was going to be fine. And it always was. 4. She stayed on the phone for hours with someone who was struggling. The cord stretched from the wall to wherever she could get a little privacy. The kitchen, usually, or the hallway, or as far as the cord would let her go before it pulled taut. And she'd be there for an hour, sometimes more, listening to a sister, a friend, a neighbor who was having a hard time. Not fixing it, necessarily. Not offering a solution. Just being there. Just being on the line so the other person didn't have to be alone with whatever it was. You'd walk past and see her leaning against the wall with the receiver against her ear, talking quietly, not performing anything. Just present. Just there. We have every technology imaginable now for staying connected. We can reach anyone, anywhere, anytime, with almost no effort at all. And somehow, we're lonelier than ever. She understood something about presence that we have not managed to replicate with any of it. 3. She kept every birthday card she ever received. In a box, in a drawer, in a shoebox under the bed or at the top of the wardrobe, behind the things you weren't supposed to look at. Cards from her mother. Cards from your father before they were married. Cards from children who had drawn something on the inside instead of writing. Cards from people who had since died. Cards from versions of people who no longer existed. Younger, healthier, still here. She kept them all. Not because she was sentimental in a showy way. She wasn't. She just couldn't throw away proof that someone had thought of her on a specific day and taken the time to say so. That felt like something that deserved to be kept. And so she kept it. If you ever found that box, if you ever sat on the edge of a bed and went through it while she watched, you would have seen something. You would have seen the whole shape of her life in cards and envelopes and handwriting. Proof that she was loved long before you arrived to love her. 2. She washed and reused aluminum foil. You watched her do it, and you didn't understand it. She'd peel the foil back carefully, rinse it off at the sink, pat it dry with a cloth, and fold it up to be used again. For what? You weren't sure. But it was not getting thrown away. Same with rubber bands saved from the newspaper. Same with paper bags folded up and stored in a drawer. Same with buttons cut from a shirt before the shirt was thrown out. Same with the rubber seal from a jar lid, kept in case another jar needed it. She had grown up in a time when waste was not an option. When you made do and made use and made do again. And even when times changed, even when there was enough money not to worry, the habit remained. She sang while she cooked. It could be a song from the radio she half remembered, a hymn she had learned as a girl, something wordless, or just a hum running underneath the sound of a wooden spoon against a pot, or the rhythm of a knife on a board. You'd be in the other room, doing whatever you were doing,
and you'd hear it, even if you weren't paying attention. Just knowing she was in there, and she was okay, and the house was running, and dinner was coming, and everything was as it was supposed to be. That sound meant safety. It meant ordinary life, in the best sense of ordinary. It meant home. A lot of people don't cook anymore, and the ones who do mostly do it with a podcast in one ear, which is fine, which is good even. But it's not the same as a mother humming to herself over a stove, without an audience, without a reason, just singing because she was alive and busy, and the song was there. If you still have that, if you can still call her and hear her voice, don't take it for granted today. Not even for a day.
Nobody gave her a title for what she did. She wasn't a nurse, but she knew exactly what to do when you were sick. She wasn't a therapist, but she stayed on that phone for hours because someone needed her to. She wasn't a chef, but nothing you've eaten since has ever tasted quite like what came out of that kitchen. She was just your mom, and she was everything. The world she lived in is gone now. The clothesline, the recipe box, the neighbor she knew by name, the song she hummed when she thought no one was listening. But you remember, that's why you're here. If this brought something back, a smell, a sound, a feeling you haven't felt in years, share it with someone who would understand, someone who grew up the same way. They'll know exactly what you mean.